Should we talk about commentary a little bit? Just thinking about commentary as a job. You don't really like go to school to be a commentator. You can go to school and learn trades, and broadcast experience is like a real thing that you can go get, but learning to be a commentator in the space of fighting games is complex. It's why I've done a lot of videos about learning how to commentate in the past, because there really is not a roadmap of, oh, you want to commentate fighting games? Okay, this is how you get started. This is how you learn. This is how you improve. Much like fighting games itself, it's sort of like self-taught, and commentary has even less resources insular to our community than anything else. So I try to always talk about commentary because I feel like it'll probably help someone. It's a hard thing to get better at. There's flame for every commentator always, right? Myself included. If I'm on commentary, somebody's gonna be like, I hate this Sajam guy. If it's Steve on commentary, somehow some person on the planet will be like, I hate this Tasty Steve guy, which seems impossible. Somebody out there is like, I fucking hate when Yipes is on commentary. Like, somebody like that exists. Can you believe that? Everybody gets flamed. The hardest part about the job is figuring out how to take what is flame and turn it into the real complaint they have about you, and then figure out if that's right or not, and then work on it. You know, sometimes you're like, okay, this person is just making shit up, that's not right. And sometimes you're like, I can kind of see what they're saying here, but either I disagree or I agree, or I see why they would want that, but that's not what I'm trying to do, or like whatever. And I always do chunks of learning at a time. Back when I first started commentary, I was an analytical commentator, right? And I was terrible at like speaking like a human. I was like a robot. All I did was like say frame data for all the moves and how it works, and like say what's happening. And like I didn't really have a way to like connect the analysis with being a human being. So the biggest thing I learned to do was to have more of my own personality in the commentary, and then also take high level analysis and shrink it to say it in the shortest amount of time possible, because I really hate when someone on commentary tries to say something simple like, oh, this person made this choice for this reason, and then they're like, wow, that was really smart. Okay, so when they made Street Fighter 6, right? The way the game works, you're just sitting there like, oh my God, the round is happening. You have to say this in 5 seconds. I've done years now, years and years and years, thousands of hours of match analysis. And when doing match analysis, you say the same thing over and over and over. And as you say the same things over and over, you get better at condensing them and saying the best, shortest, fastest way of describing situations. So that's something that I really focus on. And then what happened in that regard is I think I hit like a ceiling for it where I didn't know how to improve that anymore. I was like, well, maybe I should work on some other stuff. Things like stage hosting. I will never be Tasty Steve, and Tasty Steve is the best in the world at hyping up a crowd. He's also, I think, the best fighting game talent at being on a stage and working a stage. The other thing I realized is that if you guys have ever listened to Tekken commentary, every Tekken clip, for the most part, has Rip's voice. And why is that? It's because he does like the, oh my God, like big moment kind of energy. He's the best at doing big moments. You know, extra wide person gets the hit, and there it is. Made up name here is your combo breaker 2029 EVO whatever Guilty Gear champions. And I realized that in the games that I played, there was nobody who did big moments. While puzzling out how to get better at this analysis, I started working on stage hosting and big moments. And you probably noticed in the last few years, I've done way more big moments. And I think there's a reason for it, which is the role of the analyst in hype. Part of being the analyst in fighting games is because you understand the game really well, you can solve problems faster. When someone gets a hit, how much meter do they have versus how much life does this person have versus how much combo is this gonna do? Is this gonna kill someone? I can solve that equation way faster than somebody who has worse game knowledge. It actually lets you create the hype from the moment earlier because you know it's gonna kill. So it gives you time to like build up the moment earlier. I think that that's like a skill that people maybe don't think about as much, but if you are good at knowing whether it's going to kill or not, that is something that should be very valuable. One thing I will tell you is that there is a commentator who has excellent game knowledge, who has killed probably more big moments than anybody I can think of in fighting game history. Every time we get a will it kill clip that this person is involved in, we have to not use the clip, because a combo killing in a hype moment is a math equation. What they do is they just write out the answer. They don't show any work. And so what happens is, instead of being like, he gets the hit, this is gonna be it, and all that meter is dumped, there it is, your X and Y, big old thing champion. Like, instead of that big awesome moment, this person solves it and just goes, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead, he's not gonna live, he's dead. Because the other person is trying so hard to like flex their knowledge, they're actually making the hype moments worse. When I think if you know the hype moments coming and your knowledge is really good, it actually gives you more room to elevate. And stuff like this is something that you can't teach or you don't know unless you think about commentary in an abstract way. We don't have a lot of people who are like the analytical people that are super high level anyway. So any analysis is usually appreciated. The fact that your analysis, your game knowledge could be a negative against you is not something that you would really think about. Which brings me maybe to one of the greater points about commentary and one of the problems with current modern commentary. And you can see it with everything. There's a lot of people who have gotten a push. And so I think that there's a problem in that for some games, there is just no mentorship, no leading and teaching a new generation of up and coming commentators how to commentate. And the way this happens is you put experienced commentators with new commentators and they're mentors and they help you improve. It's like when you play a better player in a fighting game, you learn things about yourself that you are good or bad at that you may not know working with someone at your level. When you commentate a block with Tasty Steve, you know the difference. There needs to be that mentorship. The problem is a lot of the people who I think were in the right spot to do that got killed in the Capcom area. So all of their up and coming commentators have not had that kind of integration. The way you build up new commentators is they need lots of reps with the experienced commentators so that there can be a rapport built, they can get a lot of practice, they can get better and stuff like that. And in Tekken, I don't think there was really much of like the mentorship as well. And you can see the problem now is that if Bamco is not going to use someone like Rip as an example, no Rip, no buy, who are the new up and coming Tekken commentators that have been built up throughout the Tekken 7 era? I think a lot of that has kind of missed this generation of commentators because of COVID and like because of who got hired and because of who got pushed, a bunch of other factors behind the scenes. There's kind of like a gap where that should have happened, where you should have had years of like these people working with these up and coming people so that they could meld and then catch up and then, you know, get there, which is a shame, but it's something that's definitely fixable. And you may be asking like, what is the incentive for someone like me, Sajam, to work with an up and coming commentator when that up and coming commentator is going to get my jobs or something, right? It's a freelance gig. Like if you don't get hired for the event, you don't get paid any money. So there's not necessarily an incentive for me to want some other commentator to get good. In theory, right? Like I wouldn't want some new up and coming person to be taking my jobs. I've never looked at it that way. And I don't think anybody should look at it that way because I don't have the time or energy or ability to be everywhere on the planet. And I can't commentate every block in the world. I would love to not have to commentate every block in the world. That's too much work. Like TNS is this weekend, right? Even if I was thinking about going to that, I'm busy organizing a Tekken tournament. And then the week after that is Rebel Kumite. The week after that is Arc World Tour Finals, which I'm doing. And then the week after that is Will It Kill. Like I'm too busy to accept every commentary role. And it's for me, the biggest reason my focus now is like, how do I help as many people to like foster commentary talent and do some mentorship for people who could be very good. They could be that level, but they just need a little bit of help. And I want to work with and like talk to more commentators about stuff. I think I'm in a good spot where like I like commentary as a job. I prefer to do it over streaming from home, but I don't need to do it, right? If I talk to a commentator like, hey, can I ask you about something? Can I offer you a thought that I've had about your commentary? They'd hear me out. Whereas like if you're a working commentator and you're like at a similar level to someone else, if you offer feedback, it might come across as like, like, I don't know, is this person trying to get my jobs or is it like, there might be weird vibes. I'm in a good spot to maybe try to offer some insight in that regard. Not to say that I'm like the best commentator of all time, but like if they fire me, then I don't give a fuck. I'll just stream from home. It's just me offering you my thoughts, right? I try to like always tell other commentators, you will always get flamed no matter what, especially when you're new, because people will not see you as a human. They will simply view you as someone getting in the way of listening to the person they want to listen to. But you have to figure out whether their biases or frustrations against you are real or if it's like, you know, they just don't want to listen to you. It is not easy to do that. It's not easy to like talk to someone about a craft like that, which is sort of, it's subjective and sort of nebulous, right? Like it's very easy to get feedback and feel like, no, that's just not right. I think I'm doing my own thing and be right or be wrong. And there's like lots of little things that you have to learn over time. Every commentator has different strengths and weaknesses, so we're all better at different things. The reason I learned to do the big moments is that I got paired with Steve less and less. And if I don't know how to do it, the big moment comes up and it's me and I'm like, then that's going to be really bad, right? So I need to know how to do the big moment in case I'm talking when the big moment happens. And I've gotten pretty good at it. In fact, now I think like I'm pretty comfortable always doing the big moment if the other person doesn't want to. It's also why a long time ago, I used to do the segues, right? So like nobody would do the ad reads. I would be the one that was like, man, that match was really close. And we're close to finishing up here if you haven't noticed at this event. And that's why we have this awesome deal for you. And I would like read the ad slide. Because I did that so much, people would stop reading the ads. They would just be like, you do it. And because of that, I'm a naturally like used to doing traffic for a broadcast. It's like, hey everybody, welcome back to this made up event. I'm using an example for this thing. Hopefully you've been enjoying all the matches so far. We're gonna be taking a look at our bracket. We started with 16, we are down to 8 players left. We're gonna have our winner side of the bracket. And then after that, move on into our loser side of the bracket. After the loser side is over, of course, we're gonna be taking a look at the format here. This was a group stage. We got our groups action. And then afterwards, we moved into this top 8 bracket. And of course, they are fighting for the lion's share of this $5 million. Here's the prizing graphic. Wow, that looks really wild. And we're queuing up our next match, tail of the tape. We're gonna have Made Up Joe Schmo versus Johnny Donuts. Yeah, what do you think about this match, Steve? And Steve's like, blah, 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 blah. And then you go into it, right? That's the traffic of a show. If you're not experienced with it, you might struggle with it. There are people who are like world-class fighting game commentators who, if you're like, hey, can you take us to break? They're like, hey, hopefully match good. You here soon, back later. Something that I learned that's really important to do on commentary, especially at events like Capcom Cup, so that they don't do like a real medal ceremony a lot of times. When someone loses on a big stage at like Capcom Cup and you might not see them again, it's very important that you as the commentator say like, oh my God, that was incredible. And this made up person like gets the W, they did it. That was like, wow, they played so well, right? All right. And then you got to say, and guys, before we go anywhere, can everybody make some noise for X and Y, who like is out now at 5th place, everybody? Like they came all the way here from made up country here, and like the whole crowd gets excited, and then they get to like do this on the stage and they get some love before they leave. It's really easy to not think of something like that because you're so focused on the match and the commentary and the job. And it's really easy to miss your chance and not say it until they leave the stage. There's a small window there, and while that person is very sadly wrapping up their controller, you got to hit them with the, and you know what, everybody, like, please make some noise so this person's still on the stage and they can do it. If you watch Group F as an example, when Mena won against Nero the Boxer is then out of the tournament, we did that, and he got to like come up and like do a little one of these guys and then say whatever. And like, that's cool. You want that moment to exist, right? It's good for the viewers at home. It's good for the people in person. And it really is cool for the people who are on stage and they just lost, but they get some love from the crowd. I don't blame anybody for not thinking about it, because if you haven't done a bunch of top 8s in your life, or if you've never done anything like this, like how are you supposed to know this? Well, where's the commentator like checkbook that has all these things that you need to hit? It's a job where, like fighting games, improvement is very focused on your own self. And a lot of times it's abstract ideas or things that you have to pull from. And everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. I have plenty of weaknesses. I have plenty of strengths. Most of the things that I'm really bad at, I'm self-diagnosed as bad at, I can do fine. My minimum level of something that I can do is still like pretty good, but I just know that there are people way better than me at it. So I wouldn't do it unless there's not another person beside me to do it. What's my best type of partner? Anybody who just vibes. I don't think I really have a lot of bad matchups. The biggest problem I have as a commentator now is that I'm Sajam, which sounds weird, but like a lot of people get really nervous when they commentate with me. Even people that I've worked with like a couple times, they like finish the block and they're like, oh man, I was so nervous to commentate with you. And I'm like, why? Like, are we not just chilling, talking about games? I'm not very buttoned up on commentary. I'll say some wild shit. I talked about the crack on Evo Top 8. Top 6. But some people think I am, and then when they try to work with me, they try to button up because they're like worried about it. Like, dude, if I was on that top 8, I would have been saying some shit about JP theme. I'll tell you what, I would have brought it up every break. And like, if you think that I'm good at my job, then you should feel like, oh cool, even if I fuck this up, this guy's got my back, and then things are gonna be cool. And if I notice someone is nervous, I usually try to give them some kind of props very quickly into the block so that it helps them settle a bit. I will deliver analysis, and when it comes up, I will say, we were talking about that earlier. Even if they never said shit. Even if I said all the analysis and they were like, me like Klondike bars, I'd be like, yeah, we mentioned earlier that, you know, the frame data on that means that while you're in burnout, you can press and hit this button and then get this cool trade combo, so that we are in this together. It's our analysis. That means I also like Klondike bars. You feel me? And then what'll happen is when they say something dope, I'll give them credit, right? So I say something good, it's our analysis. You say something good, it's your analysis. They feel good, and you can beat down some of the, you know, like people in the Twitch chat will hear me say, oh, this person did a great job right there. And then they'll think, oh, if Sajam likes this guy, I fucking hate them both because I hate Sajam. Sometimes you know that it's your job to lead. If they're a little nervous, you can be like the backbone of the job. Sometimes you work with somebody where you know that their style is to be excitable and have fun. And you say like, yeah, dude, you bring us in. Like, I'm trying to vibe, dude. A lot of people will get to a stage like Evo and their commentary is really silly. And then when they start to work on Evo, they're like, and that was an excellent hit, and he's gonna take him to the corner, and he's gonna, like, they get so buttoned up. So I will go extra loose because I want the person next to me to feel like the vibes are really good. And if I bring it down, then they'll be like, oh, if he's bringing it down, we're probably good to go. Oh, commentary problems are also hard to detect too. This is with somebody, but I won't say who. You cannot guess because earlier the person I used as an example, none of you guessed the correct person. There's a commentator who I think is really good. When they are with someone who is less knowledgeable with them, they tend to commentate with good energy if they like the person and bad energy if they don't like the person. They really commentate like they don't respect their co-commentators if they don't like them. And then when they commentate with someone who is more knowledgeable with them, instead of just like vibing and having good energy and just being the energy guy and like floating, they are like, oh fuck, this person knows more than me. I need to like button up and then be the knowledge person as well. And then when they try to do that, then they like aren't as knowledgeable as their co-commentator sometimes, and then it doesn't work as well. Let me give you an example of a pairing that's like this. When I commentate with Logan Sama is like an analytical commentator, right? He's not normally the person you think about as the hype guy. I tend to do less analytical commentary. I do some, like we do a little bit of back and forth, but I tend to do less, and I tend to be more excitable when I commentate with him. Why? Because we don't need the both of us to be the analytical guy. I can do more of like the hype role and like just be excited, and then let him do the British analytical man, and it sounds nicer, right? And it's not like I didn't talk to him about it and be like, hey man, when we commentate together, this is what we're gonna do. But like naturally the vibes, just that makes more sense. It was just like a thought that I had before we ever worked together, and then it was like, yeah, that works. Take Steve and Yipes as an example, right? The top two easiest commentators to work with on the planet. And I think for their roles, their specialties, they are literally the best. But those two have different strengths and weaknesses, right? And they both know that. Steve is better at working a crowd and getting the crowd excited than Yipes. Yipes is better at getting the people at home excited, I think, than Steve. Steve is better at like being the person on stage. So when I work with Yipes, I'm more likely to help him with it because I'm not good at it. And I'm probably worse than him at it. But like I'll help him because we should do it together. And Steve is so good at it that I just fucking let him do it. But then when commentating with them, Yipes has better game knowledge than Steve. He's more likely to be doing analysis, which means I can vibe and chill in a slightly different way than when I'm with Steve. Whereas in Steve, he can do the analysis too. He knows the game as well, but not to the same level. So I will often do more analysis. They're both literally the best in the world at what they do. It's just they have their own strengths and weaknesses. And again, like even the things that I say that they're worse at, if this person is a 10 out of 10, they're like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they're bad at them. It's just that the other person is the literal best person at doing it. How do you know when to take turns speaking with your co-commentator? I'll give you an example. We'll just listen for like 10 seconds and I can give you we'll just pick a match.
Let me talk to you for a second. Level 3, I would have done the same thing.
Oh yeah. You hear that pause? I waited to see if Yipes was gonna say anything there. And then when he didn't say anything, I went.
It does so much damage, and also the drive gauge gets beat up. And so Keto, he wants him to spend the level 3 back, right? If you lose this round, but he spends, that's fine.
Oh no.
You see how I finished my sentence and left the gap, and then Yipes says, oh no.
Time to take the oppression a little bit. Gonna have to make some executive decisions. Random amnesia and 5 strings. Let me see. No, we're pushing ourselves out.
See, that time he gave space for me. I didn't say anything because there was nothing I needed to add. He's saying all stuff that's good. I don't need to cover anything. I'm just watching.
Oh, good punish. Give me some dap. Give me some love.
Oh man, Keto.
And you see how I didn't talk right there? The reason I didn't talk there was because Yipes was already talking, and Tokido hitting Kakadu ends the round. I don't want to talk over him because then I have to take the round winning moment, and he's already talking. He already has the energy. There's no reason to like interrupt, right?
Could have had to hit the kill there. He just didn't want to drive rush again, and he lets it rip.
See there, I'm talking, the thing happens. I finished the exciting game-ending moment. Look at Tokido staring up at me. We knew the winning moment here, but like, I don't know who was talking during the winning moment, but it'll give you an example of what a winning moment sounds like.
What's something you do / have seen others do when commentating with someone less knowledgeable and less hype than you? It seems like a hard situation to not overtalk in.
There's a couple of ways to do it. If you really think that the other person you're with is not very good, who is not knowledgeable and not hype, the assumption then is that they just don't know how to do the job. That's not good for them. That's not good for you. That's not good for whoever hired them. That happened in the Wild West days more often, but these days that like is not gonna happen. If it does happen, if you really don't like the person and you don't care, you do solo commentary. You like don't reflect off them unless they say something good. You just commentate like you're alone. It's something that you probably won't do that often unless the person you're with is like really not good. But I'll actually give you an example of someone who I know says to do that, which is Eris. And I can think of a block where he has done it before. The other way to do it is you just have to do both. You just have to be exciting, and you have to have the analysis, and you let them say what they are going to say, and you try to riff raff, and if they say something cool, cool. If they say something whatever, but like you do your best, you know. It does feel bad. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, am I being cut off because I'm talking too much, or am I being cut off because this person doesn't care? You know, you have to figure out that too. I think about the timbre of my voice when I commentate. Yeah, I think about where my voice is landing sometimes. I naturally have a pretty nasally voice because my nose has been broken a bunch of times. So that part I can't fix. But how your voice sounds in hype moments and other things, then particularly, yeah, I think about it. Anyway, this is like what a winning moment sounds like.
And the driver's jab, it's been unstoppable so far. Look to the parry. Uh-oh, one hit here is all it is. Angry Bird, lots of pressure. Tournament point. This is the chance. Last guess for Mena of the tournament.
You see how I left space right there? I was going to see if Yipes wanted to take the moment. Because if Yipes starts talking, it's very likely that he does the winning moment of Evo.
Goes to the knuckle. It doesn't reach, and that'll do it. Angry Bird, your Street Fighter 6 Evolution 2023 champion.
I gave him space there because like my moment was kind of done. He either didn't want to say anything or he wanted me to keep going. Because my voice, I was already in like a high energy voice. No offense, but I really enjoy your voice. That's very fucking offensive, but thanks. So here it is, lose finals.
Set up here, level 1.
That works.
Yeah, big damage too. Ooh, and the jump back, he's so ready. Last guess for Bunk on Evo here. He whips the throw, but a big chance.
He gets the back throw.
See how I gave space again here? Like this is, I slowed down a bit because we're not close to the winning moment, and I know like Mena has to EX up ball or something to win there. Like I can just slow down a bit.
It's higher in the neutral jump. There's the Blanca ball. What are we gonna do here? It's time to get. That was so sneaky. He didn't even represent that throughout the whole set. That was so good from Mena RD. Beautiful set.
Naturally, you can tell that the moment is not going to be the winning moment anymore, even though it's close. And then Yipe starts talking, and then he gets to do the winning moment instead, right? If you're both good at it, it should be whoever's talking in the moment. Also, I will say, I think Street Fighter 6 is much harder to commentate than every other Street Fighter game, especially if you've only commentated Street Fighter games before. I think if you don't have a lot of experience commentating system-heavy games, particularly as an analyst, I think Street Fighter 6 is a really hard game to commentate well. It's very easy to get overwhelmed, and it's very easy to not know which part of the match to talk about. The drive gauge, player decision-making, regular meter management, how to phrase things, like the reason these things are happening is because of the drive gauge or some other system mechanic in place, or like they're scared of drive rush or whatever. Doing the analysis for it is very hard if you don't have experience commentating games with dense system mechanics that impact the match. If you don't have a style from another game as your backbone, you have to kind of relearn that. I think my analysis, the way I like to do it, I figured out the correct way to do it around 2018 or 2019. Since then, I've just been making little, like it's like you're turning tiny knobs or tiny switches to improve the way you like to do something. I've taken that kind of like 2019 idea and brought it to like another level. But the problem is, I don't know what the next big step is. I've been thinking about that for a long time. And the answer might be that there's not a big step left. Maybe there is no big step. It's just incremental, smaller improvements for forever. If you told me I will never have a big breakthrough on fighting game analysis ever again, it will only just be you make small improvements for the rest of time that you do it, that wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't be hurt about that. Because the way improvements go is like when you start, everything you learn is huge. Like think about when you learn a fighting game, you learn to block. Blocking's a pretty fucking big deal. Then you learn to like dash, and dashing's a pretty big deal. Then you learn to like anti-air, and anti-air's a pretty big deal. But like once you played fighting games for a long time, then you learn how to like fuzzy block, or like you learn how to like adjust micro spacings to open up whiff punishes, or like you know, there's like the things that you start to learn are like so minute, and sometimes they're not even real things. They're like abstract concepts. Anyway, the point of all this is to say commentary is quite hard. It's a difficult topic to get better at, and there's not a clear path for most people. So, you know, if anybody ever wants to talk about it, they could always just ask me. I'll talk about commentary for forever. I find it very interesting.